Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Hearts of Iron 4, where we are playing the New Order, Last Days of Europe. And we are currently playing as the Kingdom of England, or more precisely, as Her Majesty's Most Loyal Resistance, or the HMLR, as they are otherwise known. We are in the process of setting up our... That's not what I wanted to see. I'm trying to remember where all the different icons are. That's not it either. Shoot, where's... Oh, it's in here, isn't it? Decision. There we go. That's what I was after. Because we are in the process of re-equipping or rearming the Northern Territories. We have a pretty high level of support amongst these regions, and we are starting to get some more support in the other areas of England. Ready for the uprising, because we are rearming ourselves. We are preparing ourselves for a big push to cast off the iron shackles of the occupiers and collaborators. So there we go. We have lots of guns. We've got 1,000 of them still in our stockpile, because we did manage to sneak through a couple of arms supplies from the OFN nations. We've got another special project shipment coming through. I think that's the last shipment of tanks. So we should have quite a few tanks compared to the British, who haven't been allowed to actually build any. And we're also working on increasing our support levels in these regions. And the last thing we need to do is make sure our state stability, which is actually like infrastructure investment, is high enough to make sure that the special operations, which we are currently working towards, have the space to actually occur. So Oxfordshire needs to be above 60, London needs to be above 75, Lancashire needs to be above 60, East Anglia needs to be above 60. So basically everything with the exception of, I think it's Wiltshire, pretty much needs to be above 60. Okay, maybe not those. East Anglia is at 60, Oxfordshire is at 65, London's at 55, so we do need to invest some more in London. I think also Sussex and Gloucestershire. Let's just double check those. Lancashire, East Anglia, London, Oxfordshire, Sussex. So Sussex needs to be a 75, and Gloucestershire needs to be a 75. So we're going to need to do some serious work on those regions. Alright, onwards. Matai assumes control of the Gulf. The Italian victory in the Italo-Turkish War has reinforced the hold that the Italian Empire holds over the Near East. As Turkey's expansionist dreams have been quashed, Italy has reaffirmed itself as the hegemonic power in the Arab world. In the wake of the victory, Enrico Matai, the chairman of the ENI, has successfully pushed for his nomination as the governor of the Italian territories in the Persian Gulf. Matai's nomination be doing that. Is this still working? I think so. Yeah. I think it was mostly just the headset. Matai's nomination as governor further strengthens the hold that the ENI, the Italian state-owned oil company, has over the Persian Gulf. The company was instrumental in developing the region's infrastructure and oil industry, and has a long history of productive collaboration with the ruling classes of the Arab world, with the monarchies of the... Nope. I don't want to hear nope. Yeah, it is still working. Okay, we're good. I'm checking the voice input, and I am getting an input signal. Has a long history of productive collaboration with the ruling classes of the Arab world, from the monarchies of the Arabian Peninsula to the Gulf Emirs and even Qasim's regime in Iraq. Now, more than ever, the ENI is the keystone to Italian domination in the Middle East. With Matai in charge in the Persian Gulf, the company will be able to expand its influence more than ever. Oil is the lifeblood of the empire. Oh, you were talking about nope. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, just that nope was terribly timed. Tried to play the Kingdom of England, but I couldn't keep going after a certain lesbian event chain, so I just played HMMLR twice. Fair enough. Okay. Right, onwards. So sharpening the sickle, which I think was going to go for broken telephone. So we just need to make sure that Oxfordshire stays over 60%. Which right now it's at 65, so we do have a little bit of space. Although they are doing some government missions in the area. In fact, they're doing government missions every sodding where. So it looks like they're getting a lot of resources in from somewhere. So our influence is still high. Our weapon shipment will arrive very soon. 2 days. 1 day. Done. Apparently, things can go right for Her Majesty's most loyal resistance, for the shipment of armoured vehicles and tanks has arrived in our custody unscathed. The donated equipment might not be capable of challenging a modern German force, but thanks to the Reich's own machinations, that is not what we will face when the day of reckoning comes. And also, sound has stopped. Is that because of... Nope. In-game sound has stopped. At least for me. Is it my headphones? Try that. Nothing. How bizarre. Okay, now it's working. I just switched my input around and then put it back again. It's all working again. How weird. How very, very weird. Okay, carry on. Right, because it's the other mod which was having the same Kaiserreich issue. Where it has that one March of the Eagles track which just breaks the radio system. Okay, so are there any other decisions that we want to try to undertake? I don't think so. Basically, we just want to keep the large shipments coming through as and when they are possible. Yeah, basically. We've got everything that we need right now. Sharpen the sickle. Lord help us, the Reds have rifles. As our government struggles to preserve under the order amid sickening aid from Germania, the terrorists have grown increasingly bold in their strikes against us. On the outskirts of Brentwood, an armoury left lightly defended due to the increasing violence in the capital was subjected to brutal assault by communist forces. In the dark hours of the night, multiple men in red berets shot the few members posted for security and their revolvers, then proceeded to ransack the armoury's interior. As dawn broke and the Reds receded to their dank holes, our army was left to survey the damage. As we feared, dozens of assault rifles, rocket launchers and bulletproof vests were taken. What couldn't be taken was left heavily damaged by what appeared to be a cluster of pipe bombs. A crude hammer and sickle was spray painted on the armoury's rear, leaving us knowing only the vile creed of these bastards. One member of the security detail is now in questioning, stating that he saw the attack occurring from a distance as he'd gone for the hills for bodily needs. There are no answers here, only a clear need to put these fires out and get our house back in order. HMMLR will gain 100 guns. Marvellous. Right. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. I don't know the rest of the song. Canada is famously the home of the reactionary monarchy, which opposes the fascist monarchy, which one might suppose is an improvement of sorts, but more importantly for the left resistance, and by extension the HMMLR, the Labour underground has significant contacts in the former Dominion. Most of this support is political, legitimising our struggle with the exile community and the Canadian government, but a significant amount of our material support originates from Canada as well. Bill Alexander is of the opinion that the revolution needs allies to survive, and thus far few can call him incorrect. Given the events of Cable Street, Canada is a valuable lifeline. It might be time to start making extensive use of it. Alright, so we're working on that. We still can't do any of our own improvement. I think that's on, what was it, the 6th? Or the 7th? Something like that. Alright, so we got big guns. We can get even bigger guns. Let's go and work on this. crap. We wasted like 2 days. Right, so Yorkshire needs to be reminded of who's boss. And we also want to double check. Oxfordshire is still above 60. It is. You guys are all very happy, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to boost you above 70 like so. Lancashire is already above 70 and we just need to counter the government's attempts here. Newcastle is currently very positive, but I think that we can just go ahead and expand on those as well. Here we're gaining a +2 a month. I'm wondering if at this point we just want to do the propaganda campaigns. Now let's keep the trend going. Let's just absolutely demolish any opportunity of government expansion in these regions. Including Oxfordshire. London and Sussex I don't think we're bothering with. Although London does need the investment. So does Sussex. Okay. Onwards. Oh, and we could also try and go for a large gun shipment. We are still high. We still have a lot of control over the infrastructure. It'll take 15 days. Do it. Do it. Do it now. Lufthansa 302. 10 Germans, 32 English and 20 residents, the Reichskommissariat Norwegian, boarded the Junkers 152 crewed by 7 Germans at London's Heathrow Airport. Each had their own purpose for taking the flight to Bergen. Vacation, like Colonel Nicola Roche and the Hudson family returning from a business trip. Like Drontheim, radiologist Harold Arbacher. Many had reasons to fly to the Reichskommissariat Norwegian, but some had a different purpose than any of the other passengers. A few minutes after England had disappeared behind them and the flight was over the North Sea, a woman got out of her seat at the back of the aircraft and walked up to the front. When a stewardess asked if she needed some sort of assistance, the woman pulled out a pistol and put it to the stewardess's head. A man jumped up and brandished a pistol as well, yelling, "Don't move! Hands above your heads or she gets it." He then rushed forth and opened the door, waving the gun in the faces of the German pilots. In a matter of moments, they had taken control of the plane. Many of the passengers were horrified. Colonel Roche, worried about what would happen if these hijackers found out about his Luftwaffe service, tried to eat his identification card subtly, but was forced to shove the wadded ball up inside a can of Fanta. Arbacher was concerned that there would be an hostage situation, and was not optimistic that whoever handled the rescue would do so satisfactorily. And the Hudson family were worried about the hijackers would crash the aircraft somewhere. For several hours, the passengers waited in fear, unknowing of the plans the hijackers had made. Some proposals to rush the terrorists were discussed independently, but they were discarded. It seems like all they could do was wait and guess what would happen. Nobody knew where they were heading exactly, but someone overheard what the man told the cockpit. Go northwest, and don't stop. Northwest. Iceland. They're going the wrong way. Robin Gill, an air traffic controller in Newcastle, noticed one of the dots on his screen began to move from its original direction quite suddenly. One moment been following a straight line to the east, the next it seemed to be heading northwest. This caught his attention and he immediately raised questions with his supervisor. They looked it up and got the name of the flight, Lufthansa 302, a Junkers 152 flying from London to Bergen. Newcastle tried contacting Lufthansa 302 and asked them what they were doing. Lufthansa 302 did not respond. They tried raising the plane several more times on different frequencies that civil airlines in the pact frequently used. Nothing. Lufthansa 302 either couldn't or outright refused to respond. The flight was still heading towards the northwest. A sudden change in direction and a refusal to communicate led the flight control to one conclusion. Newcastle reported to London that they believed that Lufthansa 302 had been hijacked, assailants unknown. London was shocked and ordered all outgoing flights temporarily halted while they got an handle on how bad the situation was. Berlin was informed within the hour. The alarms went off and they tried to scramble fighters to intercept the aircraft. Lufthansa was horrified and gave a list of people who had bought tickets, English, Germans and Norwegians. Oslo was informed that some of their citizens were involved in a potential hijacking after that. They scrambled to find out where the plane was headed, trying to utilise the Luftwaffe to make contact. The pack tried getting all of their diplomatic envoys and intelligence assets to Scotland, and the OFN to find out what was going on. All the intelligence they had on the HMMLR was poured over to find a possible connection, some hint to the aircraft's plans, but they still had no idea. All they could do was watch. Lufthansa 302's dot eventually flew off the edge of Newcastle's radar, still moving northwest. We can only wait and pray for their safety. Military Stat Madagascar declared war on Republic. Hidden movement. Okay, so Madagascar is erupting into their civil war. Jolly good. I'm sure the accents improve the experience for you all natives, but for me it's a nightmare to understand it. But the London accent's dead easy to understand. Just be glad I'm not trying to do, like, Liverpool. Or Geordie, worse. If I was actually doing a native Newcastle, that would be difficult for you. Joking, folks, secretly like Mordred's accents, just don't tell him. I heard that! Collapse of German Madagascar. Admiral Thomas Moore of the OFN's Indian Ocean Command affirmed that the situation in German Madagascar had reached a state of open rebellion against the government Reichskommissar Emil Morris. Although Madagascar, much like any German territory, is plagued by the issue of native resistance to colonial rule, Moore confidently announced that it was the German garrison which mutinied. Earlier reports also confirmed that the native Malagasy and the Jewish population of the island had subsequently taken up arms. No comment on the uprising was forthcoming from Germania, with the unofficial reports indicating a general indifference about the island's fate. Experts agree that, with the political instability regarding the succession of Adolf Hitler, the island, often used by the Reich to exile those who had fallen out of favour, is unlikely to receive much attention there. The everlasting legacy of the Reich. An opportunity for departure. After a few hours in the air and no explanation, the passengers of Lufthansa 302 sighted land. The seatbelt light came on as the aircraft came in for a landing. That's good. Means they were worried about safety. Nobody knew where they were exactly, but some passengers could tell they were somewhere in the Scottish Highlands. One insisted the city had passed over was Aberdeen. When it landed, Lufthansa 302 was directed to stop on the tarmac outside of the main terminal, where police officers were waiting for it. Many passengers worried that there would be a lengthy hostage situation that would end with a deadly police storming. These fears were alleviated when the hijackers surrendered soon after landing, giving themselves and the daughter of the woman over to the Scottish police. Soon after, a group of police and diplomatic officials boarded the plane. They informed the passengers the hostage situation was over and the hijackers merely intended to use the plane as a method for entry into Scotland. The plane would be allowed to continue to Bergen in a few hours. However, if any passenger wished to remain in Scotland, they were welcome to do so. The message was repeated in German and Norwegian for all of the passengers. Immediately, a young Norwegian couple stood up and made it clear their intention was to defect. This provoked the ire of Colonel Roche, who made a mental note to report the couple to his superiors as soon as he got off the plane. This action had a different effect on the Hudson family, who discussed in hushed whispers the benefits and disadvantages of getting off the plane. Eventually, they decided to do what they thought would be best for their children, got off the plane as well. Many people on the flight did not jump at the opportunity, however. Harold Arbacher was one of them, concerned at such a massive disruption to his life. Everyone he knew was on the other side of the curtain, so was everything he owned. And yet, there would be never another opportunity like this, to get out from the German jackboot, to start his life anew in a free country. Before the last Scottish official left the plane, Harold got out of his seat. Freedom is a risk worth taking. And I'd love to be able to do more of the English accents, but I just can't. At least not consistently like London. The mystery of Lufthansa 302. The first news the Pact received related to Lufthansa 302 since it dropped off the Newcastle radar was a news report in Scotland. A Junkers 152 had landed in Aberdeen, it said, and the hijackers had given themselves up to the Scottish authorities. Germany immediately contacted Scotland through diplomatic channels, demanding the hijackers be deported to the Pact, and that the passengers and crew be allowed to return home as well. A few hours later, Scotland responded with a flat to any extradition, and said the aircraft had been allowed to continue on to Bergen. When the aircraft arrived in Bergen that night, the passengers were taken by the Gestapo and asked to relay everything they saw or heard. Wasn't much to go on. A man and a woman pulled guns out over the North Sea and demanded the aircraft turn and go to Scotland. They didn't declare any specific affiliations with any group or make statements in support of an ideology. Regrettably, several English and Norwegian citizens had agreed to stay in Scotland along with them. Then came the digging through all the records. The hijackers were English citizens suspected of attempting to purchase transport through the Scottish border, and were being looked at when the hijacking occurred. Many in the pact, especially on the security side, weren't satisfied. There had to be a resistance component to this, they thought. They interrogated and detained close relations to the hijackers and the defectors, but they were just as shocked as everyone else. The English resistance didn't seem to step up their activity after the attack, and no other copycat hijackings occurred at the same time. As much as some didn't like it, the taking of Lufthansa 302 appeared to be the result of a desperate pair of disaffective English, not part of a wider terrorist plot against the Reich. That can't be right, can it? No, mate, it can't. Oh, Canada. Alright, let's do Operation Broken Telephone. Generals Michael O'More Cray and John Frederick Boyce Combe are two of the main fascist commanders in the south of England. Cray personally helped slaughter our comrades on Cable Street, and Combe should have known better than to side with the fascists even if they did negotiate his release from Italy. Alexander has given the order, both are to be eliminated, and Reginald Birch's friends in intelligence, Philby, has given some information that might be of use. The two tend to work together and occasionally congregate with several friends in Small Country Manor near Oxford to discuss the situation. As it so happens, we have liberated a stock of dynamite, and the manor has a basement. If we get lucky, they won't leave the building alive. Begin. Okay, so after Broken Telephone, we'll then be working on Bad Morning, which is the London one. So London really needs to step it up. But we won't be able to do that for another month, so we're 3 months away from finishing in London. Unfortunately. But we should have gotten another shipment of guns. Yes, we did. We have 1,100 now. And I think we're going to wait until... Boom. 2,000, in fact. That just gave us another 1,000 guns. Crikey. So we're going to wait until we can get another large gun shipment, I think. Fortune favours us, for thanks to the efforts of the intelligence operatives, none of the shipments of firearms and munitions we requested from our backers were lost to enemy action. Considering the seriousness of what we were attempting to do, this comes as quite a relief to High Command. These munitions will provide a great utility to England's coming strife, for although English firearms are of good quality, we haven't made the advancements some parts of the world have come to enjoy just yet. With these new weapons, though, we can show the world just how good an Englishman with a gun can be. And our debt is about to outpace our GDP, so we probably should try to reduce spending again. Except for the fact that it's the other expenditures which is costing me all of the money. And I don't know where that's going. Other expenditures might well be like payments that we're making to Germany or something like that. Reparations. Yeah, that's got a -5 GDP growth and also income rate -10. Taxable population -10. I'm not sure that that can be balanced. See you, Hovrik. Operation Bad Morning is what happens to me every time I wake up before 11 AM. I think that happens to me every time I wake up full stop. The Yasuda crisis. Following the release of the information implicating Yasuda Holdings executives as ringleaders in a corruption scheme turned murder investigation, the Titanic Zaibatsu seems to be in dire straits. When the Tokyo Stock Exchange opened earlier this morning, the floors were flooded with frantic shareholders begging for their orders to be processed first, and frightened interns carrying bins of sell orders through the chaos. Already, Yasuda's holdings have entered freefall, and the mass liquidation of assets held in the home islands, Guangdong, Vietnam, and China has created an economic power vacuum set to tear the sphere economy apart. Experts predict that Zaibatsu is on life support, and unless Inno's cabinet can be mobilized to produce a miracle, a total collapse of the corporation can be expected as soon as next week. What falls faster, a man or his shares? The men stood by the sill, calmly, and waited for their turn to jump. A Tokyo Exchange secretary